Hi, welcome to Steph's World, the world according to Steph, chapter 31. Okay, now notice I'm in the color of the waves, alright? This, I didn't even wear this shirt when I went on the vacation, okay? And by vacation, many people may not realize this, but I haven't been around because I went on a cruise with my daughter. And it was a very important time for us. It was more than just enjoying the world together. It was much, much, much more than that. It was a spiritual journey for both of us. As it turned out, in about one sentence, I can tell you what it boiled down to. It was my daughter's ability to see her mother as her mother really is. An older woman now, a disabled woman, a woman who has brain damage because of all the terrible things that have happened to me. I had a mild stroke. I had a brain aneurysm. And I don't think she realized just the severity of the damage that was done. And also, it was a time for her to realize that that she had been seeing me as she did when she was a child. And that came out during the trip. That conversation came out that, well, I'm a grown-up person and you're a grown-up person, and we have been for years and years now, and I think it's time that we look at each other as two grown-up people. Even though I'm still your mother, you're still my daughter, we must honor and respect each other for being two grown-up women with our own families. Of course, she is my family. Now, I found myself very emotional lately, and the reason for that is because I'm coming up on an anniversary. It'll be my son's 2-year anniversary from when he passed away. I'm going to be very honest with you. No parent in this world can say, and I do not believe this, if another parent were to tell me that this isn't true, that they could ever fully let go or get over their child's death. No parent. There is a bond between us and our children, and just to put it simply, again, my grandmother lived to be, I got it wrong, my daughter revised it for me. I like to put it that way. It's a nicer way of putting it. My daughter revised me on a lot of things. And that was when I had to inform her, dear, I don't think you understand the level of brain damage that I have. And that some of my memories are all mixed up and confused as to what year they happened, when they happened, things that happened with them, and so forth. So we needed this trip. She had to understand these things about her mother, and she didn't. And my daughter had moved out when she was 17 years old, so there was a lot. Even though I saw her, she actually even lived with me for a year and a half when she and her husband and my first granddaughter, and then my second granddaughter was born. But she was still very, very young when all of this happened. And so this trip was extremely important for us. It was to have a good time, and then on the other hand, to learn about each other as adults, because we didn't know each other. I can tell you that. And I can tell you something else. We still don't know each other. 1 week was definitely not enough. But the good thing about it was that we didn't have the grandchildren around. We didn't have the husband around. We didn't have any of my family around. And that was good. It needed to be just her and myself. And it was. It absolutely was. Now, my daughter, I believe my daughter feels that I spiritually don't feel the same as her. And the funny part is that probably spiritually I feel very much the same as her. It's almost amusing, but we never got into those kind of discussions, and that was good. As I said, this was supposed to be an enjoyable period. Now, if anybody spends a great deal of time with family that they're not around very often, and all you do is call them once a month or something like that, let's face it, you're going to have a couple of breakdown, let it all out fights, shall we call it? And I have to say that twice in our trip, my daughter and I didn't come to blows, but verbally we did. And frankly, when I did it, I didn't care what people were around. I felt pushed to a limit that was just to a point where I had to say something. And I guess it came back that way for her too. And so that was good. You know, everybody thinks that voicing your anger, or not even anger, but being hurt. I like to refer to it as being hurt because that's how I felt. I was hurt. I was still hurting from things that had been going on in our lives for a long time. And these things had to be reconciled. And so this was a wonderful time for that to happen. And not that we reconciled everything, but it certainly gave me a little information, because I've been writing my daughter a letter over the last few years. I've been accumulating information and emotion and love and things that I felt needed to be said before I make my journey on to the next world. Now, while we were gone, some other family things happened that were devastating. Absolutely devastating in our family. And they're so devastating that I don't even know where to begin. No one died. Not yet. But some of my family members are in severe, and I mean severe pain. Horrible, horrible, emotional and spiritual pain. Now, if anybody out there truly prays, meditates, I ask you to meditate for Stephanie's family. It's serious. It is so serious, I can't even begin to tell you. I couldn't even be on the phone with my mother, who is dying, They call me almost every day from Chicago to let me talk to my mother because I'm very close to my mother. She always knows me. She has Alzheimer's, but that's not what she's dying from. She's dying from heart disease. And she had pneumonia while I was gone. So when I got off the boat, the very first thing I did was I texted my sister, whom my father is living with right now, about my mother's well-being, whether or not anything terrible had happened. And fortunately, the only bad thing was she had come down with pneumonia, and that's the second time in less than a year. So that's not a good thing. And while I was talking to my mother today, I broke out in tears because I felt in my heart that these conversations are not going to be for very long. Truthfully, I just felt in my heart that they're not going to last. They're going to be gone. She may not be with us very much longer. And that it's something, no matter how much you prepare yourself for that, you're never prepared. And when my son passed away, it was a complete shock. Total shock. I knew being in the Army, there was always that possibility. He had been hurt numerous times, but it seemed like he had come back, been revived. But he hadn't. He has a family disease that took his life. Now, my daughter and I don't agree on this, but that's because, and forgive me, dear, if you ever watch this, I feel that some of that is because of your youth. And that we did not get a very valid autopsy report, which was something that I requested. But it doesn't matter. The point is, he dropped over dead, just out of the blue. And he was all my children are important to me, every one of them. And when he passed, I do not remember much of that time at all. It's just total fog. Hardly remember any of it. But I do remember the pain that I felt in my heart. And so no matter what, when you lose people in your life, whether they go fast or they go slow, the pain is no different. I can tell you that for a fact. It is no different. Now, one thing I will say is that here's what is different. The pain of losing my mother is totally different than the pain when I lost my child. There's nothing like losing a child, nothing in this world. And I pray for all of you that you don't have to feel that you don't have to go through that. We live a life that we think we're the ones who are going to go first. And so when our children pass before us, it is the most horrible thing imaginary. And the older that child gets, the more memories we have, and the more pictures we have, and the more thoughts we have. So it's a tough deal. I don't want to focus on that today. I really don't. But it came out because we're getting close to an anniversary that is horribly difficult for me. Horribly. I gave my daughter a beautiful gift. First the cruise, and then on top of the cruise, we went clothes shopping. How about that? Hey, this is one of them. But I never wore it on the boat. Oh, it was only 4 days. I took too many clothes. I didn't need to wear this. So now I live in Savannah, so in that area. So hey, no problem. I got some cool clothes now. I'll fit in. I even bought shorts. So now I got to shave my legs. Of course, there's not much to shave. My mother is 1/4 Shawnee, and she's extremely dark complected, and she doesn't grow much hair. Well, actually, she did at one time, but now she doesn't, and I don't either. Never have, except on my head. I've got a huge amount of hair on the head. Anyway, I thought I'd read a few things. And there's a reason for this. For one thing, I'm going to talk about surrendering, okay? And there's a reason that I am, because, or actually not surrendering, but forgiving, I'm sorry. There's a big reason why I'm going to do this. One of the reasons is because we must learn to forgive other people. We must learn to truly forgive. Now, what do I mean by that? If you believe in Jesus the Christ at all, Jesus the Christ defined forgiveness as forgetting. Do you really understand what I mean by that? I mean forgetting whatever happened, to actually let go, as if it never happened. That is true forgiveness. Now, I learned this from spiritual advisors. I didn't learn it from Jesus the Christ. That came later. And here's the other little deal. Just because we forgive someone does not mean that we need to include that person in our lives. It doesn't mean that we're mean to that person. It doesn't mean that, we don't, if they call, we don't not talk to them. But it does mean that we have a choice. And that choice is that we don't necessarily need to have that person in our lives. And that works for a lot of things. Let's say there's somebody that I'm not that close with, that I don't just feel like I make a very good connection with. I don't have to dislike that person, but I can decide that I can have limited communication with them. And that's okay. I can still love their spirit. I can still love their soul. But maybe they're in a place in life that I cannot relate to. Now, a lot of people have had problems with me. This is not an unusual thing, believe me. There were several people that used to tell me, Steph, they either love you or they hate you. And please ignore that. That's my cell phone. But the truth of the matter is that they were absolutely right. There for a long time, people really did have those feelings about me. Now, why? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But they did. And it wasn't easy, having relationships when that meant that I didn't have that many people that I had great relationships with, frankly. So, but what I'm looking for is the part about forgiveness, because I need to tell it to you. Now, I've done this before, and I'm going to do it again, because sometimes we don't remember it, okay? But I've got it earlobed, or, you know, a little ear made so that I can find it. So it's here somewhere, and I will find it. I promise you that. Okay? So just hang on there, just 1 minute. And if I see something else that's really good, I'm going to read it to you. Here's something. Here's something about God, okay? Now, here's a God thing. When we intuitively know, ask if it's loving to me and to anyone else or thing that might be affected by my actions. That's a nice thing to remember. Make sure that my actions reflect love to another person, which is exactly what the line of talk that I'm talking about right now. Okay, here's something else. If I'm not thinking about God, I'm thinking about crap. I'm trying to remember that. I'll be honest with you, for many, many years, I thought about crap. I really did. There wasn't much good stuff that went through this brain, except for work, of course. That was totally different. That was in a different drawer, shall we say. But when it came to stuff after work, other than my children and some of my family, and not all my family even, it was crap. Crap, crap, crap. And I will not deny it for 1 minute. I was not a loving person at all. I was mean. I was cruel. And I didn't care who the heck I hurt. And I hurt a lot of people. So there came a time when I had to make amends to all those people. And believe me, I have not even begun to make all those amends. Although I do it in every way I possibly can. Believe me. Now, so if I'm not thinking about God, I'm thinking about crap. And that's a fact of life, darling. That is a fact that I lived. I know all about that. So trust me on that, please. Now, let's see. I know it's here. Trust me. It's in this booklet. I've got two that are very, very, very important. But I'm positive that this is one of them. Okay. Let's see. No, still haven't found it yet. Oh, and I hope you all had a great last week, too, by the way. I really do. It's cold down here. It really is. I had to turn the heat on today. Amazingly. Absolutely amazing. Oh, here's something else I want to share with you. One or several of my spiritual advisors told me to do this, and I need to do it now because it's been a few years since I've done it. They said, Steph, write down and date it what you want in your life. Now, let me tell you what I wanted in March of 1999. I wrote it down. And then, later on, if it's been created in your life, notate it. Well, it was. And I notated it. I dated it, and I said, this has been created in my life today. Now, in March 1999, I wrote, I want tenderness, honesty, communication, open-mindedness, spirituality, whisperings, sweetness, love secrets, no holds, healing, trust, no fear, laughter, serenity, peacefulness, and passion. Boy, that's a lot, isn't it? But you know what? On my notation here, February 6, 2000, this has been created in my life today. How about that? Now, I'm going to tell you honestly, what I want today is not going to be the same as that. Not at all. In the year 2013, in fact, I think I'm going to do that this year. I'm going to do that probably this week sometime. Now, here's something else that I was taught. We call it restraint of tongue and pen, or typing. You know what can happen if you're not careful? You're going to hurt someone. And you might not even realize you're going to do that, but you are. I know. I've done it a bunch of times. And then when I found out, or somebody made me aware of it, it was time to go make amends again. I think I've spent half my life making amends. Trust me. But anyway, very, very important little item to remember. And I'm sharing that because I just got off this trip. And I probably said a few things that I probably shouldn't have done. But I did. There's something else in here I'm going to share with you too. That's extremely important. And then I'm going to cut you off because I had a friend tell me, Steph, you're too long. 40 minutes is too long. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is, and I'm sorry. Sometimes I just don't think about how much time has gone by. That's why I look at the screen to see if I've, gone past too much time. And I hope I haven't, but sometimes I do, and I'm sorry. Now, I'm going to read some things. Restraint of tongue and pen keeps us humble, brings humility on a daily basis. Daily. When you keep your mouth shut, like when someone says something that you might not agree with, but you just shut up, not respond to it, you're honoring and respecting them. You really are. Okay? And that makes you humble because it takes a lot of humility to learn how to shut up. Believe me, I know. Because it's hard for me to shut up. Okay. Intense humility keeps us from taking ourselves too seriously. Very important. Checking motives always. We should check our motives in our life. What the heck are our motives? When we do things, do we stop and think about, hey, why am I doing this? Why did I call that woman a name when she cut me off in traffic? Maybe she has a serious thing going on and we don't know about it. But is it my business? And maybe I should just be thankful that, no, there wasn't an accident, and thank you, Lord, and be grateful. So, keep hidden agendas out in the open. That's an important little rule too. Don't hide your agendas, because when you do that, actually people can see right through you. If you think they can't, think again. Okay? Think again. They can see right through that. Here's a good one. Self-restraint and self-discipline help us fulfill the ideal that we need to know about humility. The ideal of humility. See, a lot of people probably need to look humility up in the dictionary. Learning to be humble. A lot of people don't truly understand that humility is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Okay? It really is. It's a wonderful thing. And have you ever heard of St. Francis of Assisi? That's humility. When I think of being humble, I think of St. Francis of Assisi with the horribly rough robe that he wore on his skin, and the rope with the knots in it, because those knots were his way of remembering what not to do and how to keep the humility in his world. He wrote a prayer, and one of these days I'm going to read you that prayer. It's a real special prayer. Real special. Okay, now, let's see what else we have. Let's see. Now, here's something very important. When you have a spiritual awakening, you're going to have a personality change. Severe. Everybody's going to notice it. Everybody. Even your neighbor that you hardly ever speak to, they'll notice it. The store clerk will notice it. They'll see it in your face. They'll notice a shining of brightness to your body, a glow. Believe me, they will. Okay, now here's something else. Deep humility, and I'm really focusing on this today. There's a very good reason. Give, expecting nothing in return. Absolutely nothing in return. I'm going to make you one example of that. I'm not rich. Don't think I am. Not for 1 minute. But I believe that God provides my needs. I have always believed that since for the last almost 19 years. I have truly believed that. Because God has always done that for me. Now, when my daughter came down here, the second day she was down here before we did the cruise, I took her clothes shopping. I spent an unbelievable amount of money on my daughter because I loved her. I wanted her to look good. I wanted her to feel good about herself. And yes, I bought myself a few things. And you know what? That's okay too. Because it's okay to make ourselves feel good. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no sin in that. And we'll be talking about what sin really means one of these days. Okay. Now, I want you to remember this. Love has no price tag. None. If you love your child and they don't send it back to you, too bad. You don't stop loving them. If you love all the people in your family and they don't call you regularly, too bad. There is no price tag here. There are no expectations. Because you carry those expectations, and guess what you're going to have? Resentment. And that is a horrible thing for you. Not for them. They could care less. They don't know you have a resentment. Only you know that. They don't know anything. Okay? Now, your new state of consciousness, if you have a spiritual awakening, is given as a free gift. That's a gift that every day we should be grateful for. Every darn day of our lives, we should be grateful for it. Okay. Love, joy is a free gift. Always a free gift. And we find out if we're really ready when we work on our humility, on our love, with no expectations, on our giving, all of that, all the things that I have discussed with you, that is how we find out where we're at in our spirituality. Now, here's some important other things, and when I get done with these, then I'm going to be done for today, okay? We must carry these principles that I've talked about in all of our affairs in life, in every one of our affairs in life. Next, we cannot give advice. Never. I have a sister that is in serious trouble right now in the real world. But I have no way. There's nothing I can do but pray. That's it. I am not allowed to give any advice at all. None. Not to anybody in her family, not to my niece, not to my nephew, not to anyone. I can give absolutely no advice. Now, we do not have all the answers. We cannot play God. Never. Not ever. We are not God. We might be part of God, but we are not God. Okay? Now, first of all, we must detach from the results. Okay, let's say something good happens, and we had a piece of that, all right? We had a little part of that happening. We must detach from it. Because you know what that creates? Pride. Pride is our enemy in life. Believe me. And I'm going to get into pride in another issue. I've got to hurry up. I'm almost at 40. Okay. Growing spiritually is the answer to all of our problems. Every bit of it. And then we start to dominate people. We need to, if we do, we need to re-examine by humble example. We need to depend on God every single day. And we should respond to people with love and compassion rather than intolerance and rudeness. So, you know what? I love all of you, every one of you. And I pray to God, my Creator, that this is exactly what I do with you. I love you all. Have a beautiful, beautiful night.